Welcome to our panel, Head in the Cloud, Enterprises that Build to Transform. Today we're going to be talking to some wonderful leaders who have helped their companies go through their digital transformation. So I am Virginia Bryant. I'm the Director of Customer Marketing at GitHub, which means I have the incredible honor of speaking to our customers and developers every day. And I'm joined today by a wonderful group of panelists. I have Ahmed El-Sayed, the UK CIO at European Digital Engineering at Vodafone. Ger McMahon, Head of ALM Tools and Platforms at Fidelity Investments. Naresh Chowdhury, Vice President Reuse, Tools and Engineering Excellence at Infosys. And Becky Riss, Principal Architect responsible for developer tools and relations at Ford Motor Company. Thank you all so much for joining us today. I'd love to kick this off by just understanding where you're currently at in your cloud transformation journey. So I'd love to start with you, Ahmed.
So thank you so much. It's a real pleasure to be with you here today. So Vodafone is one of the biggest telecoms across Europe and Africa, and one of the challenges we have found is that actually we'll rebuild many of our products multiple times since we have separate countries. So we'll end up with the same app being built up to 11 and 12 times. So we saw a big opportunity is actually can we reuse heavily across the company. The most important asset for us is engineering time that we would love to save and then reinvest in future innovations for our customers. So to do that, we would love to reuse and build global solutions across our dedicated distributed teams across all the countries. And for that, we felt that this is the right approach to move into a monorepo strategy with strong base development. And for this, that's where we started our discussion. What's the right setup for us? And this is where we felt that actually having GitHub on cloud as the core place where we put all our code to give full visibility across all our around 2,000 software developers across Europe now to get visibility of the code and start the reuse journey. And that's where we started the journey. We have defined already some initiatives. We have started to do the setup for the tooling across. Today, we're running more with the hybrid model, and step by step, we're moving into the full cloud setup.
Awesome, thank you. Ger?
Good morning, everybody. So Fidelity started their cloud journey just over 5 years ago, and a lot of the initial ones was experimentation. So we've got, we're highly regulated here in the United States, and we have our own data centers. And so, there was a lot of inbuilt protection, networking security that was provided. So we started out just over 5 years ago, and it was a lot of experimentation, a lot of learning, a lot of discovery on how best we could adopt the cloud. We have 17,000 technologists working across just about 13,000 applications that we all needed to be lifted. And about 3 years ago, we started the acceleration journey. So we built all the enablement, a lot of the onboarding capabilities, a lot of the automation that teams could self-serve and adopt the cloud. And I think as of July, we were just over 50% of our way through that journey. So I think we've seen, and we hope to see a higher tick up rate on at least till get to about 80%, and then you'll get into the last, those applications that have sat there for years and years and years, and but we'll figure that out later.
Absolutely. Naresh?
Yeah, so as part of the Infosys Live Enterprise journey, cloud was just an enabler for us, and of the 40 different platforms that developers have available for them, we are sort of midway through the journey now in terms of getting all of those to the cloud. And it's a hybrid one for us. Some are moving to the cloud, public infra. Some are going the SaaS way, and some stay on in terms of the data staying on-prem and the compute moving to the cloud. So we are sort of midway through the journey right now.
So Ford Motor Company, we've been on our journey to cloud since about 2016, moving our portfolio, I think like Fidelity has been, to cloud native technologies, and we've been very successful with that. But in addition, our whole industry is a huge disruption as we're moving digital. Our vehicles are cloud enabled. We're able to develop upgrades and send them over the air to our customers. And that's just a game changer for our industry. And the architecture involved with in-vehicle development and how it differs is a big change that we've been undergoing. So I would say we're on our Gen 2 of our cloud journey now, as we're kind of moving cloud providers. And it's much easier than it was when we first got started and we were learning the technologies from scratch.
So Becky, I think you touched on this a little bit with what it's meaning for change in the way you're delivering solutions and products, but I'd love to understand from each of you what the overarching goals of your technology organization are, and where you are sort of seeing the cloud come into play with facilitating that. I'd love to start with you.
Great. So I think it's a game changer from acceleration of solutions to our customers. We're able to do things much more quickly. It also lets our developers, which are near and dear to my heart, because that's my main role, is to make their jobs easier. So what I'm seeing is our enablement platforms and runtime platforms that we create and get in the hands of developers simplify their ability to just get down to business and develop. So that speed to market, securely developing software and deploying it is our top priority, and I think it's really helping us achieve that goal.
Let's keep going with you.
Yeah, I think adding on to what Becky said, one very clearly for us, unprecedented agility, very critical, enhancing developer experience, bringing acceleration in whatever they're doing. And more importantly, from the standpoint of customer centricity, it sort of plays a big role for us.
I think if anybody knows Fidelity, we have a center enterprise technology group which manage all technology on behalf of all the rest of the developers across the organization. And in each of the business lines, which we have 14 or 15 business lines, has their own technology groups as well. So our technology strategy as part of our digital transformation is to create one unified technology horizontal that works across all the businesses. So as each are advancing their journey, because it's most important for us, for our customers, to serve our customers. We're not actually for cloud for cost or for learning tech for tech's sake. We're actually here to deliver for our customers and delight our customers. So that's where our strong focus is leveraging the cloud, leveraging the learnings across all of the different, so we can bring brilliant services, brilliant products, and delightful experiences to our customers.
Probably just building on that, so we see around, we did the calculation, we see around from 35% to 40% productivity gain if we can just move into a place where we just basically eliminate 70% of the waste we have today due to not reusing as much across. And with this cloud strategy, it can enable us to unlock this, and also building on top our inner source kind of direction as well, so that can help us a lot. Besides of that, since probably if you're following the telecom industry, it has been a great purpose. It connects people all over the world, but it has struggled a bit to achieve growth for the last few years. Now we see lots of opportunities of growth, but for this to happen, we need to free up some, again, time of our engineers to build this future product that will achieve for us the growth we're looking for. So that's why, again, productivity remains at the heart. It's an agenda even led by our global CEO. On top of that, since we have moved over time from a company that buys technology to a company now that builds most of its technology, so we need to recruit as quick as possible lots of software talent out of the market. Today we have around 9,000 across the whole company, and we're on a mission to recruit another 7,000 software developers by 2025, and to keep the attrition down and also be able to recruit all these software developers. Then developer happiness is at the core of everything. So we need to move across every single piece to ensure that we have a great value proposition to offer them so that we can bring them into our organization.
Well, I think you sort of read my mind, because I want to understand what this shift in tooling really does mean for your developers. And it's not just tools, right? It's the culture that goes around the workflows that really defines how things change. And so in terms of shifts from an on-prem solution to a hybrid or to a digitally native cloud solution, what are some of the improvements that you've seen, be it developer happiness or other sort of quantifiable measures?
If I want to start, so probably it's what we call day zero productivity. So on average, you get developers to come in and then they need to install the right tools and then go through the company processes. You usually lose about 2 weeks from the day they join, then they start adding value. So probably that can bring you down into day zero productivity. So that's one big gain for us. The second one, I think, spot on what you have said. We always have said from day one, this is not a tooling strategy for us. This is a culture transformation. Since today, which probably is a bit funny, but you'll find your teams, at least in our case, within the company, are more open to reuse from open source, but they are not reusing from each other's. So again, there's a shift of mindset where can you please ask before you build, check with your colleagues if the same code is there. But then we found that everyone is willing to do it, but the challenge that to reach the code that my colleague have built, that's by itself a process that will take a couple of days, and I don't have this time to do. And that's why if we can bring all the code on a monorepo with full visibility across all the developers, then this automatically will drive the right behavior of collaboration that we're looking to do.
Absolutely. Jared.
Obviously what Ahmad said, Fidelity and probably a lot of companies are doing very similar and identical things. But one of the things we identified kind of earlier on this year was we got 17,000 developers building a ton of applications across different business verticals. What about if we created an initiative and it's called UDE, Unified Developer Experience? So we have part of our organization, our software engineering organization, are working to a design-first, developer-centric experience. So they're actually looking and spend 6 months actually looking through it. What would that experience look like? But it's really like human-centered design versus self-serve portals or pieces of technology to solve problems. It's actually putting the developer center and what is their experience across everything. Because every developer loves to innovate and they want to create. So we want to give them as much time as humanly possible to innovate and create.
So taking away some of the manual processes and the tedium and focusing on writing code?
Just focusing writing code. So as cloud creates extra capabilities you need to build as part of taking your application from your IDE and putting it into a production deployment, there's a lot of extra work with networking, security, et cetera. So how do we dial some of that back? So it's automation, it's access to services, access to the cloud, access to tools, even the laptops to use, right? And then how to make sure they're safe and secure.
Wonderful.
Yeah, so reuse is big for us. So driving org-wide reuse, and this at scale because we're talking like 200,000 plus developers and engineers. So reuse very clearly. The second important thing is GitHub sits as a very foundational thing for us. It's part of the shared digital infra, drives a lot of the reuse. Our code repos sort of sit on top of GitHub, and making sure that everybody has access to stuff that they can actually not reinvent but reuse. I think that sort of plays a critical role, and we find that almost 25-30% productivity improvement because of levers like this that developers are able to actually see very clearly.
Wonderful. Becky.
Yeah, and our focus at Ford has been on building those platforms to accelerate the developer onboarding, and especially when they move teams. So it might not be day 1, day 2, it might be day 435, but they're on a new team. And being able to simplify that into like a drop-down or point-and-click experience so that they don't necessarily need to know all of the back end and what needs to happen. That's been really key to our success. And our team also does individual consulting if there's situations that need that. And we find our community helping each other really helps accelerate progress forward.
Wonderful. Yeah, it sounds like inner source has been a very core theme for many of your teams and finding ways to facilitate, not just building from scratch, but building, collaboratively in the same, manner that we try to encourage within the open source community. So that's, I know, a huge cultural change in itself, but it's great to hear that it's starting to pay dividends. And, thinking about not just what this means for what your developers can do with shipping, more interesting code and getting passionate and what they want to be focusing on. What are the results that you're seeing with your end customer? What has changed for them based on the speed of innovation?
So I'm super excited to be part of Ford Motor Company and our features that we build into our vehicles, as I mentioned kind of at the kickoff, the software that we're developing and being able to push to the cars over the air. Imagine driving your car one day and the next day you're hands-free because you got an over-the-air update. And that's exactly what I experienced with my Mustang Mach-E as they were developing this. It's called Blue Cruise. It's a technology you can get on your vehicles. And it's just remarkable. So no dealership, no waiting in line, just going to sleep and the next day having extra capability in your vehicle, just like your cell phone experience has been. But now it's your vehicle and it's your driving experience, and it's just truly remarkable. And I think that's just a wonderful experience for our customers. So drive a Ford. You'll be able to see it firsthand.
It sounds like you're really seeing your cars become computers, maybe more than mechanical creations at this point. Would you say that that's the experience?
Absolutely. Especially with our BEV, our battery electric platforms. We're able to do so many things differently than before, and able to leverage that platform differently and build our componentry differently to really serve the customers and what they need. So it's been awesome.
So I think I'm an SI on this panel. So for us, really about customer satisfaction and NPS. Programs where we have actually leveraged the shared digital infra very well, driven engineering excellence, so we can actually see a 10-point higher NPS from our customers. And I think that speaks volumes of how effective this is. Very clearly, productivity. Every year, we save millions of dollars out of FT savings, and that's of great value because we can plow back all of that into investments that go into driving competency development and so on. And third, very critical is just the experience that developers have. And the promise that I have from my side to all the developers in the company is that we will make sure that you have the best-in-class stack to work on. And year on year, we will continue to improve that. And I think the feedback that I get from the developers in terms of how happy they are with the stack that they're working with, I think that speaks a lot.
Excellent.
I think, and I use one real example. For Fidelity, the cloud journey is really access to innovation and velocity of feature release, because that's what makes customers happy, and actually that's what makes developers happy. So we're investing in the cloud. Is it made of things like AI, machine learning, databases, you name it, very, very accessible to developers. The actual amount of learning developers need to do the bar is lower for them to be able to adopt those kind of more advanced technologies. So we still have we still have call centers with Fidelity. So if you've got your money with Fidelity, you want to ring and talk to a human, how do we use like natural language processing to use AI to help when someone calls, understand first of all who they are, what their whole engagement is with Fidelity, and direct them to the person that they need the support from. So really provide a brilliant experience over the phone, get to the right person the first time so that person can get the information that they require there and then in the moment. So it's one thing how cloud has really enabled us to provide much higher experiences to our customers, and hopefully they stick around a long time with us.
Yeah, absolutely. I think customer retention is always the big thing for all of us. So I think I always believe speed is the new money. So if you can get the value right to the market earlier than your competitors as well, then you can get more than your fair share of the market there. So just a couple of examples. For example, we saw the need on our UK operations that customers are looking for, that they want to get the devices over installments, and then even with zero rates across the interest rates across it. So we had to build this over time, and we were able to launch it to market much earlier than the rest of the competitors there, and that gave us more than our fair share. We saw our company growing on a market that actually was declining, so we can see the value becoming quite big there. Another good example in our Italian operations, we had challenge of the number of calls that comes to the call center, and then also through the speed of innovation, we were able actually to evolve our chat solution. And today, more than 75% of the customer calls is actually fully contained within the bot itself, so we don't need to reach out to any of our call center colleagues, which increases the value of our call center to be able to spending the time on upselling or even asking us to improve and focus on customer journey rather than taking regular calls that there is no value basically of having a human somehow answer it, but offload the team from such calls. So that was two good examples where we see that the more we move to cloud, the quicker we can become and the more value we can add to our customers.
Absolutely. That makes a ton of sense, and thank you all for sharing. I think as we've talked about a fair amount, there's a big shift that needs to happen when you go through any kind of large migration and tooling change and process change. And so, to folks who are interested in going through a similar journey themselves, I'd love to hear a little bit about any tangible advice that you would want to share with somebody who is just getting started, And it can be around hiccups that you hopefully can save them trouble on, or the challenges of overcoming objection, or really any of the areas that you think you could share some sage wisdom. And I'll start with you, Becky.
Culture, culture, culture. It's all about culture change. You need to start with that. You need to reward and recognize behaviors when you see them emerging in the thought process, and the developers who build upon that, and showcase those stories in your company, because what you recognize actually influences people's behavior and changes the culture. And that's been really the key to our transformational success, and the speed at which we've been able to move is our focus on culture first.
Great.
Culture, of course, but I would also say, don't listen to us because your context is different, right? So, I mean, that's what I did. I looked at my own context, right, and I created a journey map for ourselves that works specifically for Infosys, and I think the same would apply for you. So I think look at your own context and give a lot of importance to what your people are saying on the ground, right? There is a comfort with a certain level of speed that they would want to do this with. Take that into account and then design your phases and strategies and so on.
If I was to give one piece of advice, it's something we discovered over the last 18 months, and it's a concept we call in Fidelity Learning Day. So we actually dedicate 1 day a week to learning for every technologist in the organization. So we call it Learning Tuesday. So you come in every Tuesday morning, no work, no backlog, no tools, it's just you learn. And that has really helped accelerate everything. And not only do developers get to learn, they get to practice their skills. We get mentorships, hackathons, coding days, videos, watching GitHub Universe, for example. But also then we also transcribe that learning into the business support functions. So audit, risk, security. So how do we provide the education and the learnings to them about how cloud can make us very successful, and it's not actually a less risky, because that then removes blockers and removes challenges that you may encounter if you don't focus on that at the beginning versus kind of, as you're going along the journey or at the end.
I think we could probably do a whole additional session on how you clear people's calendars at a company
I would
for a whole
love that.
day. I'd love to hear from you, Ahmed.
So I mean, I think it's the transparency of the journey itself. It's not something that you only as techies we can run it. It's a full business thing. So we always say there is a tax of reuse, right? So when you go through the journey, first your productivity may drop down because of the fact that you need to invest at least 15% or 20%. The way we defined it, we said that we need 15 to 20% of our engineering time should be invested on our productivity actually as a team, so that we can do the right practices, not only moving into cloud, but also changing all our engineering practices, decoupling the code and doing lots of things. So you need to have this discussion with the business. It needs to be an agenda owned by the global CEO. So we had it up, even we do some sessions with our board of directors about how we're improving our productivity, and we get the sponsorship from the board of directors and the global CEO. And then as a team as well, we start dedicating this part openly with everyone, that this is the lost capacity that you lose for the few, let's say for the first year or something, and then you start showing the exponential capacity out there. So at the end, it's a business case that you need to put together, and you need to bring everyone to be part of this transformation.
So be prepared for some bumps in the road.
Definitely, yeah.
And recognize that it's worth pushing
Not
through.
easy. No.
Amazing. Well, I know we had a very short period of time here to get together today, but I'm so glad you were all able to join us and share some of your perspectives. For folks who are joining us here in person, we'll have our panelists available for a couple more minutes in the hallway outside to chat and answer any of the questions that you might want to pose to them. But thank you all so much for being here today and for joining us in person and sharing your expertise. Really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thanks
so
for
much.
inviting us.
Thank you very much.